when we recharge the mind, that we build up energy. When we're ready to build up energy. So especially the routine, lots of thinking, I tell keep on thinking and thinking. So that generates a lot of this inner kind of energy. Yeah. So of course, even to sleep, please do not keep thinking. Do not think. And sleeping, do not think. Yeah. So sometimes people do the opposite. In meditation, do nothing. Then very easy to fall asleep. Yeah. So we should do this nothing thing during the sleep.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Hi, Angie. How are you?
Okay, I just got my second jab of AZ yesterday, so today a little groggy. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, who is Nadira? I think it's a new person. Hi, Nadira. Are you present? Okay, not present. Okay, it's 8:30. Maybe Terence can kick off.
Namaste. CO2 and good evening, everyone. Welcome to MSBS Weekly Guided Meditation by Phra Goh. Today is the 17th of August, 2021. We are very grateful to have with us Bhante Adhibalo, popularly known as Phra Goh. Bhante was born on July 14, 1985 and had his Bhikkhu ordination to the Theravada tradition of Thai Dhamma sect in 2008. Bhante is currently the religious advisor to Buddhist Youth Network Singapore and has been conducting MSBS Weekly Tuesday Guided Meditation since July 2020. This week we are continuing last week's talk on how to overcome greed, hatred, and delusion. Bhante will be leading the homage to the Buddha and taking of 5 precepts for Buddhists. Now let us compose our mind, put our palms together, and welcome Bhante. Over to you, Bhante.
Hey, thank you, Terence, for the intro. So we shall start in the opening chanting and the homage. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. 3 refuges. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. And the 5 precepts. Panatipata Veramani Sikkhapada Samadhiyami. Adinadana Veramani Sikkhapada Samadhiyami. Kamesu Michachara Veramani Sikkhapada Samadhiyami. Musawada Veramani Sikkhapada Samadhiyami. Suramiraya Majjapamadatthana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, so good evening, everyone. Tonight we are continuing, I think it's the third lesson on how to overcome greed, hatred, and delusion. So the previous two sessions we've talked about basically again revisiting or revising the Four Noble Truths. How does this greed, hatred, delusion fall into this formula, and basically the cause of suffering? Why do we get stressed? Why do we feel distressed? I mean distress as in D-I-S-T-R-E-S-S. Yeah. Why do we get distressed? It's because of this cause, suffering due to greed, hatred, delusion. And we talked about how does this greed, hatred, delusion gets amplified. What do we do? What kind of wrong attention that cause it to amplify, and how to reduce, right? How to stop amplifying this greed, hatred, and delusion. So basically, that's where we stopped last week. Okay, so today we'll be talking about a different sutta. That is Sabbasava Sutta, on how all these defilements, how does it arise? Yeah, and when we have wrong attention, inappropriate attention, when we have greed or hatred, when we react with any contact, any stimuli with greed or hatred, then naturally delusion arises. And one of these delusion is called identity views. Identity views. So basically based on, again, the previous year's series on the dependent origination, the starting point is always our self man-made suffering is due to greed and aversion. Because of greed and aversion, then we cling. We cling on to this perceived, cognizable things. Anything cognizable, we cling on to it, and it will produce becoming, this sense of I, a sense of these personalities will start to form. Right, again, so a short, basically a summary of what I've been saying, or the more simplified term, there's this, I think a French philosopher or something, I came up with this notion, I think, therefore I am. And due to thinking, and that's why this I arises. This ego, this personality arises due to thinking. So of course, due to inappropriate thinking. Right? Okay, so we are going to not justly read through what are these identity views, what are they? Okay, so I categorize it into three portions. First, talking about time, chronological order. First, we have the past. So once we think about the past, for example, let's think about childhood. And once we think about childhood, then we have certain queries or doubts regarding the past, or the sense of self in the past. So was I in the past? Did I ever, was I like that in the past? If you look at your own, let's say a tape recorder or video recorder or photo of yourself in the past, was I like this in the past? Sometimes we cannot even remember, hey, did this event occur? But you look at the photo, then you think through. Was I not in the past? Okay, so this is called asking a self-identity question. It's a bit like a Zen kind of question. Are you you? So this sense of I is actually a kind of emotion. It's kind of emotion, and it feels like very real. Very real. It's with us since we are born, right? So was I not in the past? What was I in the past? So what was I in the past? So in the past, though this can mean your immediate past in this life, and also in the past life. Yeah, in the past life. So some people think trying to develop seeing past life may gain wisdom, not necessarily. If there's inappropriate attention, then may not result in wisdom. Yeah. So if you want to query, the intention has to be correct. Probably need proper guidance. How was I in the past? Yeah. So you have to think this question. So again, there are different interpretations. This one is the past life. No, how was I in the past? Or the nature of this ego, the substance, the quality, the nature of this ego. How was this I in the past? Is this I large or small? I mean, the field of energy, is this emotion the same? In the past, is it intense? In the past, is it the same now, right? So there are different ways to interpret this. Okay, having been what was I in the past? So again, this one can be up to your imagination. Having been what? So let's say, like for example, maybe your school teacher give you an example class. Imagine, let's say, imagine you have a certain occupation. You are assigned a role in the past. Maybe they give you a scenario. Then imagine if you lived in that scenario. Maybe a history class. Imagine you were maybe a police officer or a soldier defending a certain, maybe World War II or World War I. So imagine if you were somebody in the past, right? Now, what was I in the past? So how does this I feel? Yeah, so this is going to do the past. So again, I'm going to sort of make it more practical, right? Right now in this set, in this Zoom meeting, your current role is a student, correct? Because you are audience, you are listener. But if you were to face someone else, maybe your maybe parents or your children, depending on whichever family member you meet, then your role will change, right? You're no longer a student at that moment, and you have a different role again, right? So these personalities change based on different circumstances. So it changes very fast, every moment change. Once you think of something, then the role change again. This personality manifests in a different form. Later you're going to plan, oh, what am I going to do tomorrow? Then again, different role, different personality. What kind of project or assignments that I have not completed. Then you have another different role. Maybe you are a worker, you're a boss, whatever it is. So you have a different role very fast every moment. So it keeps changing and changing and changing. So this has got to do with the past, the future. So the next one, shall I be in the future? And will this I still exist in the future? Yeah, shall I not be in the future? What shall I be in the future? So again, this can be the quality of this ego, can be in this this lifetime, what you want to do in the future. It can be a second later or a minute later, the quality of this ego, or it can mean your next life. What shall I be in my next lifetime? Am I going to be reborn as a human, or am I going to be reborn in some other realm? Right. So these are questions. Or we can talk about what we mentioned earlier. What kind of duties you have tomorrow? What kind of tasks or assignments you have tomorrow? So your mind will take up that role, kind of imaginary scenario, and you plan. You plan forward, fast forward, plan. Right. So these are the questions being asked. And the next one, even in the present, or else is inwardly perplexed about the immediate present. Am I not? What am I? How am I? So normally we ask, how are you? We greet people, how are you? Then now we ask, how am I? So it can be a very deep question. How am I? Okay, where has this being come from? Yeah, so again, this has got to do with questioning the nature of this self, the nature of this ego, the identity of this ego. Where does this I come from? Or if you want to take it more in a gross manner, where does this being come from? Come from a womb, and before conception, where does this being come from? Right. So again, you can take it metaphysically or even philosophically. Okay, where is it bound? Is it within the body? Is this I larger than this body? Right. So these are its limitations. Okay, where is it bound? So many questions: past, present, and future. And so nowadays, I'm not sure whether it's nowadays or you can hear commonly in many Buddhist circles, we talk about present moment. Come back to the present moment. Come back to the present moment. Even in the present moment, some people still can be perplexed. Come back to the present moment. Is this present real or not? What am I feeling this moment now real? Who is this person feeling this present moment? Right? So even when this mind sort of come back to the present moment, still subject to inappropriate attention. So being in the present moment doesn't necessarily mean it's correct. Because either you have appropriate attention or inappropriate attention. So vice versa. If a person were to think of the past, they can have also appropriate attention. Possible? Okay, like for example, let's recall maybe when we think of the Buddha, qualities of the Buddha. And Buddha lived 2,500 over years ago. There's a past already, right? Yeah, so that's the imaginary scenario. I haven't met the Buddha before. I have no idea how the Buddha behaved. So we only just based on reference on past records. So we think of the Buddha 2,500 years ago. And that's an official meditation practice. Can you say it's wrong? Think of the past, think of the Buddha is wrong. Can you say it's wrong? Yeah, and it's an official practice and also can lead to, at least in the suttas, can lead to the stages of awakening, can lead to this joy, rapture, peace, and concentration when a person keeps recollecting the Buddha. So likewise, when we think about the past, when we meditate, I ask you to contemplate of parts of the body, birth, aging, sickness, death, hair growing, hair falling, or skin growing, skin falling. You need to have an impression first. How is the skin like when it falls down? So you must have seen your skin falling off before, right? So that is based on past memory, past perception. And then you replay and replay and replay in your mind. So it's got to do with past, present, and future. So in future, my hair turns white, or my hair falls off, right? So all these are thinking of past, present, and future. So can contemplating on this impermanence of the body be considered wrong? Right? So there's again appropriate attention and inappropriate attention. If a person's defilement still there, the greed and hatred still not yet reduced, like maybe earlier on the sharing, if there's still attachment to the parts of the body, then if you think, maybe let's say my teeth is going to fall off, my teeth is getting dirty, then the next thing you worry, okay, maybe I should go and see the dentist, maybe should get some teeth whitening, teeth straightening, whatever, right? So the mind cannot accept this aging and decay. I'm not saying not seeing the doctor. No, if you have issues, please go and see the doctor. But what I'm saying is you don't get over paranoid over every small changes, right? So this is the issue, how to have inner peace, right? How to accept this change and reality. So even in the process of seeing the doctor, you won't be too disturbed, too shaken. Right? If you're over worried and over anxious about it, and internally you're suffering, and externally your body also suffering. Yeah? So externally, let the doctors and whatever handle the bodily problems, But internally, you have to take care of your mind. And the doctor may not have the tools to help you to calm down your mind. So you just have to help yourself. So again, how to practice appropriate attention, right? With the here and now, or past, or even the future. So then this, again, particular discourse, or under the second discourse given by the Buddha, midway through the 3-month retreat, we talk about the opening the Asala Puja, when the Buddha taught his first 5 disciples the Four Noble Truths Eightfold Path. And when these 5 months had the 3-month retreat, of course, the Buddha gave some personal instructions, and towards the end, the Buddha gave the second discourse, the discourse on non-self. And towards the end of the discourse, the Buddha interestingly mentioned whatever form, feeling, perception, mental formation, or consciousness, the 5 aggregates, or anything perceivable, cognizable, anything you can cognize, regardless of past, present, or future, near or far, gross or subtle, one should reflect all of these as non-self, or impermanent, or suffering, or non-self. So this is the kind of reflection. So even thinking of the past can be done correctly. Thinking of the future also can be done correctly. So these are parts of our daily cognitive function. We need to think of the past. Imagine if you go to a job interview, you need to fill up a form. They ask you in a form, when is your birthday? You need to recollect when's the birthday. That's the past. You cannot say present moment. When is your birthday? You fill up present moment. You see whether you can get hired. Yeah? Right. So again, when you think of the past, these are, we call it daily life. You need to execute all these functions. You need to think of the past. You need to think of the future. Right. Like later on after this talk, what you're supposed to do. You need to plan ahead. If you don't think of the future, then you forever sit here. You don't have to turn on or turn off your equipment. You just sit here. Don't have to go to bed. And you don't have to think of the next step into the future, right? So that would be a problem. So your mind cannot always be at the present moment. You need to think of the future, plan to the future, and you also need to think about the past. But how to think of the past or the future in a way that you can detach, right? So that's why we always talk about having right mindfulness, always observing impermanence, always generating right thought, having good emotions, this loving kindness, regardless of what activity you do. So these are very important. Can be trained, can be cultivated. Yeah. So I'm not saying it's impossible. Can be done. Just that it's more effort. Yeah. So hopefully I cleared this segment. Right. Any issues? If not, we move on to the next slide. Okay. Then these are a few more of the views. Right. Whether there's self or no self. So these are 6 more. One of the views is I have a self. And second view is I have no self. And number 3, by means of a self, I perceive self. Number 4, by means of a self, I perceive not self. And number 5, by means of not self, I perceive self. And number 6, the self of mind that knows is everlasting and will stay as it is forever. So interestingly, it covers like every religious, theological aspect of understanding the self, including very Buddhistic notions. And it's part of wrong view, wrong personality view. So if I were to give a talk, I remember giving a talk to students, teenagers. Buddhist talk to a Buddhist group. And these are relatively young chaps, and they have hardly any knowledge of Buddhism. So I asked them to, actually there's an annotation function, so probably this group a bit more mature enough to do that. So if there's a drawing board, you can actually click this annotation, and I asked them, you can write down or point an arrow, which view do you hold or you find it's true. Most of them very straightforward, put number 1, I have a self. Yeah, very straightforward. No, it's real. Self is real. So this, I have a self. Yeah, it's real. Yeah. Then there are a few Buddhists who are a bit more knowledgeable, and they put number 2. I have no self. Yeah. So either way, regardless of what you believe, as long of course, in theory, a person can, let's say, they can believe in maybe non-self. Buddhists have this concept, anatta, non-self. So they put, okay, no self. But within the heart, the ego is still there. Now the I is there, well, it's still real. Right? So how can you come to terms with that? Are you lying, or is there any conflict, or is there what? Yeah. So at least the number 1 group is very honest. They're very straightforward. Yeah, I have a self. Yeah, very honest. They're not lying. So, yeah, they have a self. So how about the other portions? I remembered there are many interpretations of this concept of self or non-self. There are even in, I'm not sure, Theravada Mahayana schools or these Tibetan schools, there are a variety. They believe in ultimate self. Then some, there's only mind-only school or whatever. Yeah, so there are many variations. So many variations. Even in the forest tradition, they talk about a pure chitta, or sometimes Mahayana, they talk about Buddha nature. So there are so many very similar concepts. There's in the end, there's a true self, or something like the ultimate true self. So even a Chinese saying, is 牺牲小我完成大我 or something like that. No, so it's ingrained into the culture. You sacrifice the small self, the selfish kind of self, and you achieve a greater self, something like that. So it's ingrained in the culture, right? So so that's like number 3, right? By means of a self, you perceive self, a greater self. And by number 4, by means of self, you perceive not self. That's like a bit like the opposite. So the end product is the ego is not there, or something like that. And number 5, by means of not self. Yeah, so it's like a reflection of not self. Then you perceive the ultimate self. Yeah. So all these are various concepts, perceived ideologies. So I'm going to take reference with another sutta. There's like this Digha Nikaya. I'm not sure where it is. I think it's Digha Nikaya number 1, the first long discourse on the sutta, talking about the Brahma Jala Sutta. The net of discourses is even more complicated than these, mentions like 60 overviews, religious kind of views in India at that time. And in short, I'm going to summarize. Whatever you believe, you can believe number 1, number 2, number 3, 4, 5, 6, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what you believe, as long as you still have stress. That means you still have greed and hatred. That means something is wrong with that view. That means at least that view is still just a theoretical view. You have not achieved inner peace. So the inner alignment is not there. So what you believe is one thing. Now we can talk about friendliness, talk about loving kindness, compassion. But we still can get angry. So still a kind of wrong view still there. Yeah, and vice versa. If a person, whatever you believe, as long as they have no stress, no greed, no hatred, yeah, then that's it. So there is a true seeing of this dependent origination and Four Noble Truth. Yeah, so it's got to do with experiential. Experiential, it's not about theory. All right, so now it's 9 o'clock. I'm going to sort of end this short discussion. So today we've more or less covered on how this inappropriate attention can manifest in our thoughts, how it manifests about worrying about the past or the future, or even in the present moment, and how to tackle this with regard to these straying thoughts. Yeah. Okay. Any questions on the ground in the Zoom? You can type a question in the chat or unmute yourself. No? Or okay, not confused. How about in the Facebook comments? No, nothing. Okay, so I'll go for a short break to contemplate on the self. Very deep, profound questions. I was confused. So hopefully it doesn't trouble you throughout the whole day. Okay, so 5-minute break. Now it's 9:01, so see you all at 9:06 for the guided meditation. Okay, let's see if everyone's back. Oh, Jason has 2 accounts. So who is the true Jason? Jason is a double self.
He's using 2 devices, I think.
I call this a split personality. Okay, so shall we wait for Jason? Okay, maybe you can start first. Everyone's here already. Find a comfortable sitting position. Make sure your back is upright. And the body relaxed. And make sure there's no tension. Adjust your body. And then we are starting with the first phase of the meditation, bodily detachment. Meditations, visualizing the parts of the body, starting with the hairs. I'm going to wish all the hairs from head to toe well and happy. And the hairs being a large area throughout the body. Whenever you think of a new patch of hair, and you keep on repeating this wish, wishing it well and happy. So the fastest way to have inappropriate attention is to just do nothing. If you let your mind idle, naturally have inappropriate attention to all the stray thoughts, either you worry or you fantasize or whatever it is. And so now we're reprogramming the mind to have this appropriate attention, so it requires a bit of effort and training. Not in a forceful way, but consistent repetition. And once you have some loving kindness to the hairs, make peace with the hair, and we can introduce some hammer the truth that all these hairs eventually they grow long, they get dirty, they decay, and they fall off. So they keep growing and falling, and we keep on contemplating on this birth and death of the hairs many, many times. So if let's say you are meditating on your own, if you feel any tension, right, because of forcing, then you might need to do more loving kindness, so that your mind won't have this violent tendency to oppress the mind. Normally we recite, "Oh, we all beings be free from oppression," but we keep oppressing the mind. And there's lots of stress or tension resulting from it. And only when the mind has peace or calm through this loving kindness, then you can reflect on impermanence. So the more we reflect on impermanence, the more detachment of the mind. So we are in no way training the hairs, yeah? We are training this cognition of the hairs, yeah? The imagination of the hair. So this is more like a visual cognition kind of detachment training. Okay, then we can ask ourselves, are these hairs truly self? Can we tell the hairs not to go through birth and death? Okay, and the next part of the body we are going to visualize are the nails, fingernails and toenails. May they be well and happy. And all the nails go through this birth, aging, sickness, and passing away. So they keep growing and falling off, growing and falling off. So we keep on reflecting on this birth and death cycle many, many times. And we can reflect by asking ourselves, are these nails truly self? Can we tell the nails not to go through this birth and death? And the next part of the body, we're going to visualize the teeth inside the mouth. Wish all the teeth well and happy, all the upper rows of teeth. May they be well and happy, and all the lower rows of teeth. May they be well and happy. And all these teeth go through birth, aging, sickness, and passing away. So you think of the bone cells and wear off and keep growing to replenish, and they wear off, growing and falling, many, many birth and death cycles. And then we can ask ourselves, are these teeth truly self? Can we tell the teeth not to go through birth and death. And next we visualize the skin. From head to toe, we wish all the skin well and happy. And the skin again is rather large area. So whenever we think of a new patch of skin, and we need to repeat. And all the skin are subject to birth, aging, sickness, and passing away. And so they keep growing and falling off, growing and falling off many times. And we think of this birth and death cycle of the skin. Many times, the more the merrier. And we can ask ourselves, are this skin truly self? Can we tell the skin not to go through birth and death? Okay, and moving on to the second phase of the meditation. So this time around, it's more feeling the sensation. Yeah? So no need to visualize anything. So this one is more like a spiritual kind of training. So we are going to wish me all beings in front well and happy. And just a gentle wish, no need to push or exert to the front. Have all sensations in front. We wish them well and happy. And we come back to ourselves. And we are going to wish may all beings behind be well and happy. And we come back to ourselves. And we're going to wish me all beings on the left be well and happy. And we come back to ourselves. And we're going to wish me all beings on the right be well and happy. And we come back to ourselves. Now we're going to wish me all beings above well and happy. And we come back to ourselves. And we wish me all beings below well and happy. And we come back to ourselves. So now we're going to wish this entire body from head to toe well and happy. We are going to feel the sensations and no visualizations. So what kind of sensations do we look out for? Just a general guide. We call them the 4 elements or the 4 general classifications of sensations. The earth element represents hard and soft sensations, fire, warm and cold, wind, fast and slow movements, and water, moist or dry. So we call this mindfulness of the body. So you need this as the evidence to anchor the mind. If not, the well and happy will just be speculation, theoretical kind of well-wishing. So you need something real to be at peace with. So the evidence or the observation will be these 4 elements. So we are not controlling the elements, we are not holding on to them, we are not rejecting them away. As long as any sensation arises, we just treat them as passerby and wish them well and happy. So you do that for all sensations. As long as you perceive something, just wish it well and happy. And if you suffuse this whole body with loving kindness, then it's good to take note of this emotion or this state of mind. Is it still a mind with aversion or a mind without aversion? And so the loving kindness will generate a certain kind of emotion, and now it is a restricted kind of loving kindness or restricted mind, still within the confines of the body. And now we are going to cultivate this boundless loving kindness. So we're going to change the area of attention and wish all beings well and happy. And all beings above, below, and all across, may they be well and happy. So again, no need to push the mind, no need to visualize. And if the mind is on area of attention, is sort of expanding, wherever your attention may be near or far, large area, small area, doesn't matter. As long as you feel a sensation, any of the elements arising, you just wish it well and happy. So keep repeating as long as a new sensation arises, and we wish all these formations, all these sensations, all dharmas, all beings well and happy. So the more you think of loving kindness, the more you generate this well-wishing, the calmer the mind will be. And this concept of boundlessness is not about pushing the mind to a large area, any form of exertion that causes strain or tension, and is actually restricting the mind. You're actually removing the boundaries of this hatred. So naturally, the mind will settle to this state of calm or boundlessness. And whatever emotion you feel, keep on generating loving kindness, treat everything as passerby. So your mind is calmed down, then it's knowing what is a concentrated mind or what is a tranquil mind. And next we're adding some insight or wisdom into the practice, on how to practice unconditional loving kindness, is to practice some detachment, and every sensation that we observe, we need to reflect on impermanence. So all the passing sensations, I observe how it arises, how it passes away. Whatever emotion that runs by, also treat it as passing sceneries, and keep on contemplating on impermanence. And then we can remember this state of mind and how it's a mind with detachment. And the next sublime state, we are cultivating this compassion. So we're going to wish all beings, may they be free from suffering. And so again, no need to visualize or imagine any scenario. And we call this circular compassion. And the first few moments you have compassion, the next few moments you start to worry how to help this person, how to help that person. And if you cannot help, then you feel remorse or guilty, and it's very draining. And so the compassion we are cultivating is more recharging and not draining. So anytime you feel a new sensation arising, and you wish it free from suffering. So we are cutting off the worrying part. So just focus on generating the initial compassion. So as long as you detect a new sensation arising, wish it free from suffering, new sensation rising free from suffering. And the more compassion you generate or regenerate, and the calmer the mind will be. And you can take note of this emotion or this state of mind. And so this is a kind of concentration practice with compassion. So if you do it correctly, the emotion should be more, at least more pleasant, more joyful than the secular kind of compassion, which can eventually lead to very sad or depressing kind of emotions. And next we are adding some insight or wisdom into the practice. The same thing, how to be truly free from suffering. Like how to practice real compassion is to first have compassion towards self, have to detach from all these formations. So this detachment process requires again contemplation of impermanence. All the formations, they come and go. They go through birth and death all the time. All the sensations arise and pass away. All throughout the entire meditation routine, you'll notice the same pattern, a similar pattern, bodily visualizations all the way to this 4 Brahma Viharas. As long as detachment, certain phenomenon will happen. Once you reduce clinging, certain emotional triggers will happen. So whatever meditation object you're practicing, right, as long as there's detachment involved, and it should more or less have this same experience. Keep being mindful of impermanence. Okay, and we're moving on to the 3rd sublime state, which is appreciative joy. So all beings, we wish they not be separated from whatever they have accomplished. So similarly, no visualization or imagination. You're just going to observe the here and now sensations Every time a new sensation arises, we rejoice, or we have this appreciative joy. And after all beings accomplish whatever they accomplish is the accumulation of all these moment-to-moment experiences. So every time you experience something new, then you gain something, gain a new experience. So every sensation arises, you just rejoice or have appreciative joy. And the more you rejoice and the calmer the mind should be, then you remember this state of mind or this emotion. And this is the appreciative joy through concentration, through tranquility. And we're going to add some wisdom or insight into the practice and reflect that all beings will eventually be separated from all that is dear and appealing to oneself. So all these experiences, they don't stay with us forever, they come and go. So keep observing impermanence, arising and passing of all the sensations. And you remember this state of mind of detachment. So it's actually a very long journey. Requires mindfulness on this impermanence for at least 7 days continuously. If a person wants to experience the end goal. Okay, and we're moving on to the fourth sublime state, which is equanimity. I'm sure some of you have already experienced equanimity here and there throughout the entire meditation, but we are now starting equanimity from scratch, down-up approach, using this samatha concentration route. So we are going to contemplate all beings are the owners of our actions, heir to the actions, whatever good and bad that we do, and we shall be answerable, or we shall be the recipient. Yeah, so it's basically you reap what you sow, so we don't have to again speculate or imagine any kind of scenario. Oh, I've done certain things in the past, so now this time I have to face certain kind of retribution. No need to speculate, and just going to observe the here and now, sensations, something more evidential, any sensation that is pleasant, that is the call it the good karma's ripening, and any unpleasant sensation that arises, that is like the bad karma's ripening. And if it's neutral, then it's neutral karma's ripening. So lots of things going on naturally without us controlling. So every moment new sensation arises, and we reflect its karma. And the more you reflect on this karma and detachment, if you start to calm down and start to feel this emotion of neutral, is not joyful, not happy, but neutral and uplifting, then this is called equanimity. Yeah, so this equanimity, at least through concentration. There are many kinds of equanimity. Yeah? Okay, and then you're adding some insight or wisdom to the practice, how to overcome these karmas. Yeah, again, it's to practice detachment. So all the sensations arise and they pass away. All the feelings, pleasant and unpleasant, arise and they pass away. It's called mindfulness of feeling. Okay, so we maintain this mindfulness of impermanence, or this boundless, immeasurable states, loving kindness, compassion, appreciative joy, or equanimity, be it standing, sitting, walking, or lying down. And with that in mind, we can gently open our eyes, physically conclude the session, but mentally still maintaining this mindfulness. Okay, so any questions or problems? All good to go? Yes, Yili.
How do I put this? When the itch, I mean, like when the sensation arises, such as the itch, like I felt the itch, on my nose, and my legs starting to become numb, and those, and I try to kind of like disassociate those sensations from myself. So whenever they arise, I just wish them, I consider them as an opposite party. I mean, just consider them as guests that comes to visit. I just wish them may each be well and happy, and may pain be well and happy, and then I just stick to that that verbalization. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings stick to what they have, that which is appreciative joy, or may all beings all beings are here to their karma. And so yeah, and the itch and numbness, and eventually they dissipated. So is that one way of realizing the non-self?
If it works, now it reduces these formations. If you can see how it passes away, then that's good. But what I feel you're doing is you're like walling them away. Yeah? You're like creating a partition and trying to separate them. I think what you need to do, you may try observing them. This dissociation will come naturally. You don't try to dissociate them right from the very start. Yeah.
So, and in our daily living, so how can we apply in our daily living? Is that whenever, like for instance, like relationship with other, with our peers, with our friends, or our family members, our day-to-day interaction with people. So like when there is a dispute, for instance, or a dispute, so then we have this unpleasant feeling about them, like stress or anger. So we take that time, we just sit down, and we just sit quietly and calm ourselves down, and we and we think to ourselves like, I am not my anger, I am not my anger, I am not my aggression, I am not my desire. Can we apply that manner in our daily living?
And by the time if there's how do you call it? There's anger arising already, and it's a bit too late. So it's more on moment-to-moment application of this right thought. Yeah. So even when we're sitting down here, we're trying to appropriate through whatever we see, smell, hear, think, taste, and touch. So even when we're outside of this sitting, when we meet your relatives or friends, you also need to contact them through your eye, tongue, body, and mind. So it's how you keep on applying this right thought every moment.
Okay, I'll work hard.
It's not about it's not about agreeing with everything. Of course, sometimes there are ideas which are different, but your emotion or how you react to these scenarios is very important.
Okay, thank you, Bhante.
Okay, all right. Okay, any other questions? Okay, if there's no issues, then yeah, we can end the session. Just as someone joined. Okay, so we're going to chant this dedicating of merits. Akasata Japumata Devanaga Mahitika Punyantang Anumoditva Chirang Rakantu Lokasasanang Etavata Amhehi Sampadang Punya Sampadang Sabe Deva Sabe Buddha Sabe Sata Namodatu Sabha Sampati Siddhya. Transference of merits to departed. Idang me nyatinang hotu Sukhita hotu nyatayo. Idang me nyatinang hotu Sukhita hotu nyatayo. Idang me nyatinang hotu Sukhita hotu nyatayo. And aspiration. Imina punya kamena mame bala samagamo. Sata samagamo hotu yavani bana patiya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, that's it, right? So, Terence, any announcements?
Thank you very much, everyone.
Right. Okay, then see you all next week. All right, good night.
Night. Thank you, Bhante. Sadhu.
Okay, no problem, sadhu.
Thank you, Bhante.
Okay, no problem.